How are you doing, sir? And I mean this seriously. How are you doing after your broken back? I mean, I just hate saying that because it makes me queasy thinking it. But how you doing?
I'm doing okay. The deadline was rough, but the deadline's always rough. And I wouldn't say how did you characterize it? You didn't
Broken
say
back.
all the news.
Oh,
No. I was talking about you complimenting me professionally. I don't want to crap on any of my other colleagues.
Oh, no.
A wonderful and fine job.
Yeah, no. Just take the as I was always once told, take credit and accept congratulations, even if you had nothing to do with it.
Yes, that's a fair point.
It is, because you always look, you know that at some point in the next 10 days you're going to get blamed for something you didn't do. So if people are crediting you with something you didn't do, take it now. It all works out in the wash. See, I'm going to put that in my book, Life Lessons from Jeff Blair. I'm going to put that in my book.
That.
Put that in my book.
I think one of the chapters is not going to be how to get to break on time. So at least you can do, at least you know some things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hey, speaking of the deadline, who did you? I'm trying to forget I was going to say, who did you like what they did? You know what I mean? Which team do you think did well at the deadline, and which teams do you think underachieved?
I like the Texas Rangers and I like the Houston Astros because they went for it. And this is going to sound weird because if I were the general manager for the Los Angeles Angels, I would have thought it's absolutely bonkers to hold on to Shohei Ohtani and to then double down and trade for Lucas Giolito and trade for Randall Grichuk and trade for C.J. Cron and just keep adding and adding and adding. But I love, as a baseball fan, the intrigue and the drama that brings. Because, if Shohei Ohtani got traded, Jeff, to a contender, he would be playing in October, and we would get to witness that, and that would be wonderful. But I feel like this is almost like the end of the first act of a really good story, where the stakes here for the Angels are just enormous. It's not just for the Angels. It's for Artie Moreno as an owner. If Shohei Ohtani doesn't re-sign with the Angels, they're going to be a disaster for a long time to come. And if he does, it essentially saves the franchise from oblivion. And I don't know. As somebody who loves big stakes, there are no greater stakes right now than the Angels. So while baseball-wise it was frankly reckless and like seemingly full of moral hazard, just as something to watch down the stretch, I find it utterly fascinating, and thus I enjoyed that part of it as well.
Do you think we learned anything about what may happen in the offseason with Shohei Ohtani from what happened or didn't happen at the deadline? And I'm looking at teams like the New York Mets doing what they did, or the Dodgers not doing what they did. Any clues as to who will be actively pursuing him?
Here's why I'm going to say no to that. Maybe in hindsight we look back and say, oh yeah, that did tell us something. But the way that I look at it is every move that is made by a team should be independent of Ohtani, because Ohtani is such an outlier, is such a difference maker, is such an absolute freak compared to the rest of baseball players that it's almost like you can't plan for him. You just have to luck into him. You're not going to convince him to sign with you. He's going to decide where he's going to sign. He's the one with all of the power in this situation, to the point where I was thinking, remember when Alex Rodriguez doubled the maximum the guaranteed salary for a player? I think prior to him, the highest contract given out was $126 million, and Alex Rodriguez got $252 million. I'm not saying Shohei Ohtani is going to double the $425 that Mike Trout made, but when we're looking like at the next level, it's around $360 or so million. would it shock you if a baseball owner came in and said, you know what, everyone else is going 600 plus, fine, 700, 12 years, 60 million a year, let's do it? Would that, like, how much would that surprise you, if at all?
You know, it wouldn't. Nothing would surprise me, because I think the other aspect, the other part of Shohei Ohtani is you know that the value he brings in terms of jersey sales and marketing and all that. You know, if you're a smart businessman, you're gonna make money on it.
Jeff, before you answer that question, how about cramps? Like, I know the cramp issue. Will that be an issue going forward with him? Because he's been going through that when it comes to, I know he's going to get paid, but will it be an issue about what he'll get paid?
I don't think that cramps are going to be an issue when he gets paid, but I think what the cramps imply, which is that pitching and hitting at the same time, is a really, really difficult thing to do. Mm-hmm. And if we are giving Shohei Ohtani 12 years, do we reasonably believe that he is going to pitch and hit in each of those 12 years when he throws as hard as he does and when he's had a Tommy John surgery before? No, nobody reasonably would believe that. If he does that, of course he does it because he's Ohtani, because he just does things that none of us could ever fathom be done. But is there the expectation that that's going to be the case? No, and that's why I think some teams are going to be scared off, and some teams are going to try and get creative with their offers. But there's going to be one team, and even though the New York Mets, like, let's just look at the Mets, Jeff. The New York Mets are taking a step back in 2023. Pretty evident at this point when you go and trade your, two future Hall of Famers, Cy Young Award winners, and essentially pay for prospects, right? Don't you think that the perfect way to buttress the down year of 2024 with the let's get back up in 25 and 26 is by selling out the stadium every night? Because the greatest attraction we've seen in baseball since God knows who is in your stadium 81 times a year.
Yeah. Like,
that's the value that Ohtani brings. I know people who are listening love the Jays, and people somehow, despite themselves where I live, still love the Royals. And people in New York love the Yankees and Mets, and people in LA love the Dodgers. Everybody loves Ohtani.
Yeah.
You cannot watch the guy and think that there's anything wrong with him. He plays the game the right way, so to speak. And what he does is transcendent and magnificent. I think he is baseball. I think we are watching something historic happening right now. And because of that, the price could go as high as who knows and still be worth it.
Hearing you say that, I was thinking back to the players I've covered, the players I liked, the players I thought were the best players I'd seen and all that. And Ohtani, because of how he is, because of where he's played, he might be the first one in a long time that nobody dislikes, because it's not like he played for the Yankees. So if you're a Red Sox fan, you don't got that. It's not like he played for the Red Sox. If you're a Yankees fan, you don't got that. He didn't play for the Dodgers. So if you're a Giants fan, you don't have to worry about that. Hasn't done steroids, and I'm thinking literally, I don't know if we've seen a megastar in this game like that, because A-Rod was a lightning rod.
Was it Trout, or do you just not think Trout ever reached that category despite being like the best player?
I don't think Trout, like, our family watched the World Baseball Classic. Two of them aren't huge baseball fans. They like baseball, but they aren't huge baseball fans. They certainly wouldn't watch a game that didn't involve the Blue Jays, and they watched because of Shohei Ohtani. And I think that's the big separator between Trout and Ohtani. Plus, you know what? Ohtani looks like he's having fun. And I mean, Mike Trout, I'm not criticizing him, but he seems pretty happy doing what he's doing. But Shohei Ohtani, to me, is more entertaining just to look at and watch him go about his business than Mike Trout is.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And I think the fact that we're saying that about a designated hitter is hilarious because this is a guy who on the days when he's not pitching essentially shows up 4 times.
Yeah.
Like he's not doing anything out in the field. He's coming to the plate 4 times and he's running the bases, and that's about all you're going to see out of him. And yet we're still transfixed, which I think is a testament to how remarkable the things he does really are.
Jeff, Baltimore was just here. They took 3 out of 4 from the Blue Jays. I was watching Baltimore. They're very athletic. They have a very good lineup. They're very hard to pitch to. They have a very good bullpen. Jeff, you know what they don't have to win a World Series? A number 1 pitcher. Do you think they can win it without that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen teams win World Series without number 1 starters, right? I mean, let's first, Kevin, define what a number 1 starter is. Is a number 1 starter an actual ace, or is it a guy who's sort of on the cusp or like facsimile of an ace? Because I love Kevin Gausman. I think Kevin Gausman's great. Mm-hmm. In my definition of number 1, Kevin Gausman's not a number 1.
No?
No. I think that is a list that is reserved for very, very few people, and you have to have been doing it for a long time, and there cannot be flaws, not clear flaws. And I usually think before I give a guy like a 1, I mean, I don't know how many 1s there are in baseball right now, frankly. Like Garrett Cole, maybe.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's guys toward the end of their careers. And, I think someone like Gausman or someone like Spencer Strider are like scratching the surface. Are you just talking about someone when you put him out there on the mound, you are reasonably sure you're going to get 7 good innings out of him?
Predictable.
Even against the playoff team?
Predictable. You know sort of what you're going to get when the lights are the brightest. I will say, when I was listening to you talk there, because of the elevated fastball and how hard it is to hit and how hard it is to lay off of, it's almost like you can piece it together. If you have velocity, which now all these teams have, the Blue Jays are going out and getting it, and that's a must to have it. And if you can somewhat make the elevated fastball look like a strike and throw enough of them for called strikes, you might be able to get away with not having a true number 1 and a predictable guy that can pitch game 1 and game 7. That's not a Verlander like Houston went out and got, right?
Yeah. And I think that, I go back and look at Kansas City in 2015. And to me, the Royals, Johnny Cueto wasn't a 1 that year. And they certainly didn't really have any other ones in their rotation. I mean, James Shields, they went out and got him. He ate innings, but that staff that they had when they won the World Series in 2015, I'm sorry, it just was not filled with guys who were frontline starters. Remind me, the Braves, I guess Max Fried is a 1. So in 2000, Dodgers, that was the COVID year though. Nationals, Strasburg was a 1 that year. Red Sox though. Red Sox in 18, was Chris Sale a 1 that year?
Was Lester there?
No, Lester wasn't there.
Lester wasn't there. No, it is it's an interesting point. I think sometimes we just sort of assume that you need that number 1. And I mean, I would argue, I would argue this.
You know why? Because it's nice to have it.
Yeah.
It's great to have the 1. But I think you can win without it.
See, well, sorry, Jay. You know what it is too? We put so much on a manager's plate in the playoffs that if you don't have a number 1, they have to be almost perfect. I can just remember John Snyder on when he was taking out Gausman and the heat he took and how it went and how people frowned on that and how they looked at it. It's probably fair that they did that. He took him out too soon.
Well, he admitted he took him out too soon.
Absolutely. So I think that's what it is, right? It just sort of takes away the unknowns that we have that day taken care of. I don't have to manage that day because normally your really good playoff World Series teams have a couple of no-brainers in your bullpen that if I take care of those innings and I get it to the 7th inning, I got a 7th inning guy, an 8th inning guy, and a 9th inning guy. I just have to get it to the 7th inning guy. I think that's sort of what it is for me anyway.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I also, let's look at Blake Snell a few years ago. Like Blake Snell, I think it was the year he won the Cy Young that Kevin Cash took him out, right?
Yeah. No, I watching the Orioles when they were here, and adding Flaherty. To me, it was a good ad. First of all, I mean, Mike Elias isn't going to come out and say it, I don't think. But I don't think anybody thought this was the Orioles' year. Next year, maybe next year's the Orioles' year. But I like the fact that just everything Brandon Hyde said. We had Brandon Hyde on actually a couple of months ago, and one of the things he talked about that worried him about his team or concerned him was just the workload. Like, it was just after he went through a whole series without Felix Bautista pitching. And he just said, I'm doing this because I'm cognizant of the fact that we're going to rely on this guy. And I like the pickup of Flaherty because what it's going to do, it's not that I don't care what he does in terms of performance, but now all of a sudden, Dean Kramer and Tyler Wells, I can manage those innings a little more now. That's what I want Flaherty to do. I want him to give me 6 2/3 or 7 so I can manage their innings a little bit. And then when we get to the playoffs, we can figure it out. Maybe we piggyback guys. We don't need 5 starters. Maybe we piggyback guys.
That's a big part of it too. There are a lot more days off during the playoffs than there are in the regular season. And that's why, I mean, let's remember Houston back in 2017. I mean, I understand, different story, but if we remember how they went about things, it was Lance McCullers and Charlie Morton, going back to back. And you find creative ways to get around your deficiencies in October. And I appreciated what Mike Elias did at the deadline because I think it was a reasonably good get in Jack Flaherty with a decent bit of upside, but at a cost that does not in any way impede what they're trying to do going forward. And that's the crazy thing about where the Orioles are right now. The Orioles have like 5 hitters in their system who would be the number 1 hitter in 20 systems.
Yeah.
That's how deep they are. And by the way, that's not counting Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman and Colton Cowser and Jordan Westberg and these guys who are already there. That's in addition to them. It's Jackson Holliday. It's Heston Kjerstad. It's Kobe Mayo. It's Samuel Basallo. You go on and on and on. And it's just it's an embarrassment of riches. The closest thing I can remember to this, guys, and maybe this is because I grew up watching it, was the 1990s Cleveland Indians when they didn't have room for Richie Sexson and Brian Giles and Sean Casey and others because there were so many good hitters on that team already that they just ended up moving the guys to different places where they all turned into all-stars too.